Words are very powerful, aren't they? Hello, my name's Sean Milligan, and this is the God's Honest Truth. So, the thing about words, right, is, they can be very uplifting sometimes. Just a simple hello, how are you, can make your day. But at the same time, something harsh like, ooh, you're ugly, can kind of hurt. And if you're not careful, those words can really affect people, not just emotionally, but mentally, especially if they keep hearing those harmful words over and over again. And I don't think there's any better way to show how powerful words can be than at the very beginning of the Bible, which we will be covering today. So, we'll start with Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 through 10, okay? So, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form, and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. So, in the beginning, there was only the heaven and the earth. That's pretty straightforward, right? Then we go to verse 3. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw the light and that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. So from here we can see he's creating, night and day essentially. They created the sun that you see out there from my window. And then we go to verse 5. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning was the first day. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. So we can see here, starting to create land. And then we go to verse 7. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. And finally, verse 9 and 10, and God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear, and it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called the seas. And God saw that it was good. Now everything I read there was from the King James Version. Now the interesting about this book, it also has the Living Translations, the New Living Translations. So the same verses, but slightly different. So under the New Living Translation, it says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was empty and formless, and the house clothed in darkness. And the Spirit of God was hovering over its surface. Then God said, let there be light, and there was light. So you can see there's a lot of similarities. And then God called the light day and the darkness night. God said, let there be space between the waters, separate water from water. And so it was. Let the water beneath the sky gather in one place. You get the idea. So, just from the first 10 chapters of Genesis, you can see that God's words and his words alone made heaven and earth and everything in between, which we'll cover as we go on. But that proves my point that words are powerful. I mean, God could have just as easily just did that, and boom, everything would be there. But no, he took his time and spoke it into being instead. And I guess that he did that to show off how powerful he is. I mean, I personally think it would have been more powerful if he just snapped his fingers and everything was there. But to each his own, I guess. But it was his way of showing that words are indeed powerful and that we need to be careful with them. Alright, so that's all from this episode. I'm Sean Milligan, and this has been the God's Honest Truth. I'll see you next time, folks.